Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
Just a quick heads up, there is a brief mention of sexual assault in this week's episode, so please take care when listening. Hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of Criminality, the podcast. The tagline escaped me. Loving reality isn't a crime. Right, Rebekah?
Well,
we love it.
Well, not usually. I mean, yes, loving reality is not a crime, but there is so much crime in it, Melissa, and we knew that when we started this. But OMG.
And we really had our hand on the pulse. We were really just ahead of our time, really. This week has been crazy.
I don't even, it's like, it's hard. I mean, we're coming out with this now. It's going to be several days later. So much has happened. But yeah, of course, the Jen Shah story broke. And I've seen no shortage of amazing headlines with plays on her name, like the shocking story and like getting
Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, Shaw arrested. But yeah, I mean, that's all been playing out and it just happened so fast and kind of out of nowhere. Though I think we all were suspicious when she couldn't describe her business accurately at the reunion.
Right.
I think we all were like, that's odd. But who knew just how odd it is?
The most odd. Yeah, that you played or you put that clip on our Instagram of Heather Gay saying, I don't know what she does, but I love it. In like the Arsenio Hall, whoever, like raising the roof. And I was like, I mean, this is not aging well.
And it's so recent, which is just even sadder. I mean, that would have been like kind of a sad thing on its own. But then in light of that, just, cringe. But what's so interesting now is she's denying the allegations and saying they're not true.
Free Jen Shah.
It's a movement.
Hashtag Free Jen Shah.
Yeah.
That I think only she and the Shah Squad are
I don't know.
a part of. Allegedly.
She's got 3 lawyers. I don't know why they're letting her be near a phone. I don't understand.
No, but can you imagine taking a phone from her? We saw that cell phone footage from a few months ago.
Right. The meeting between the lawyer. You take it. No, you take it. I don't want to take it. I had to talk to her last time.
Exactly. So you can be sure whenever more details come out, that's definitely going to be, that is right on in Rebekah's wheelhouse. And she is going to cover it so well. And we're going to get so many details. I mean,
I'm already figuring out if being a podcaster is, if that qualifies to being press at the trial, because
100%
it's a federal court in Manhattan. And I've been there before because I've stalked Keith Raniere's trials there in Brooklyn. Sure. So I'm going to do what I can and get as close to the story as possible. I'm definitely not going to report it until there's, a lot more to report, but shocked she's pleading not guilty. I think it's crazy and I just can't wait to see it play out. And we're just in for such a treat because Salt Lake City is filming.
Oh, so good. So good. Because this always happens where they're like, 3 months earlier and you just hear about what's happened. I know. We never get the cameras there. This is amazing TV.
And isn't this also happening for Beverly Hills? Won't we be watching that drama unfold?
We should be, but how much do you think Erica's going to let us in? I don't think she's going to give us a whole lot.
Well, I would normally say no. I don't think she would, but I've read that she was very open. I think even Andy was quoted as saying, like, she's incredibly open about what's going on with her and Tom, but it's all relative. Like maybe in terms of Erica being open, it's very open, but it's never going to be as much as we want. We know that.
But I can't do another season of Lucy Apple Juice. I can't take a one storyline and run it through the road. Not when this one's so good and has so much potential.
Exactly.
They have to give it to us.
They really do.
They have to.
They really do. So yeah, it was quite a week. And you know what's also funny is the day before that story broke, or possibly even the morning of, there was that story about Heather.
Yeah.
Why am I forgetting her last name?
Carol Radswell, Heather Thompson, right?
Yes, Heather Thompson in New York quitting, mid-film, which I didn't even know she was a cast member. Was she just a friend of, and she was filming? I don't really understand.
I thought she was a friend of.
Yeah.
I didn't think they had said that she was a cast member. Okay. But I feel like there was enough time that went by that you want these people to come back. Like 2 years ago, I would have been like, eh. But now I'm like, absolutely, you come back.
Yeah.
Jill Zarin, no, I never want her back. And I know needed. I'm on my own island for that, but no, I'm not into it.
I'm with you on that. But I could take or leave Heather. It didn't matter. But I was just like, oh, interesting. She quit mid shoot, and then the Jen Shah story broke, and it was like, Heather who?
It's over.
We have moved on.
It was a good day, really good day to be in the Bravo universe, because it was just nonstop all day. I really had to dedicate my life to the journey of the Jen Shah.
It's, really remarkable, the things I pushed aside to kind of stay on top of it. And I couldn't even stay on top of it. What's amazing about this Bravo universe you're talking about is the fast and the furious. I mean, the memes, the jokes, it was like Christmas morning. Like, it just kept getting better. It was incredible.
It was Luann being arrested all over again.
It really, really was like December 2017.
Yeah. A simpler time. So this week, though, I am going to bring you a news story. And I was telling Rebekah, I struggle with this, not because it's not interesting, not because of anything, but it's so much information. So I'm condensing it, and I'm even going to have pictures for Rebekah, because I think we're going to need them, and we'll be able to post these to social media to help you along. So the story I'm talking about this week, my clues from last time were failed jewelry empire, full quiver, and what was the
Basement
other one?
Wife.
And basement wife, yes. So this week we're talking about the crimes, or not really crimes, they committed crimes, but they weren't arrested, of the Sister Wives franchise.
So it dawned on me after we recorded, of course, Basement Wife should have been a dead giveaway, even though, I mean, the basement part just made it so dark. I was like,
oh, yeah. I didn't think of that.
The wife alone, it should have been a clue, because you're all about the Sister Wives. Like, it's come up more than once. So yeah, but I honestly am embarrassed to say I didn't know what a quiver was until I Googled it. And that also,
it's a big Duggars word. The Duggars like to say quiver.
Okay, that
full,
makes sense.
All that, yeah,
that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I understand it now.
Yeah. So back in 2006, the show Big Love was on HBO. Did you ever watch Big Love?
I think I've seen pieces. I didn't follow.
It was 5 seasons, and it was about Bill Hendrickson and his 3 wives. Towards the end, it gets really off and weird, and he runs for Congress or something, and it was kind of bizarre. So I followed it kind of, but it was interesting. But that was my first taste into the world of polygamy. And so interest is really up. And in 2010, there's these 2 independent producers who go to Figure 8 Films in North Carolina, and they have an idea to do a show about the Brown family. The president of TLC at the time, Bill Hayes, agrees after he meets the Browns and realizes they're really interesting, they're fascinating, and they're not what you would think of typically as a polygamous family. So they shot this footage in mid-2010 for the first season, and it ends in a wedding. They ended up filming even more in case it was picked up, and it was for 15 seasons, Rebekah.
That's a long-running show.
This show is truly about nothing. I cannot emphasize that more. I wait every week to watch this show, and I get truly nothing happens. Just at best, they're moving from house to house. At worst, they're talking about this property they all want to live on that they're never going to.
So what keeps you coming back? I have to ask.
Right now, in season 15, Kody hates at least one wife, and at least one wife hates him. That's fascinating television, that you have these people who are together because they don't have to, but they think that's the plan, but they really don't like each other. And it's kind of watching them season to season, like come into their own and then also kind of not take his crap. And then his little ego is being deflated. I don't know what it is. It probably says something more about me than it does them that I'm so interested in it, but it's just a dynamic that you don't see anywhere else.
Well, I'm actually not sure that's true. That seems to me like a theme we see on The Housewives, where the wife gets more confident from doing the show. She starts making her own money. She starts pushing back on the status quo a little bit. So maybe it's a version of that, but in this dynamic of a polygamous marriage, in which case that makes sense to me. It's relationship drama and tension.
Totally relationship. Yeah, because really nothing ever happens. Truly nothing happens. So if you aren't familiar with Sister Wives, here's a little synopsis and we'll get into more details as we go along. So you have Kody Brown, and he's the patriarch of the family. In 1990, he marries his first wife, Meri. In 1993, 3 years later, he marries Janelle. 1 year later, while Janelle is pregnant with her first son, Christine joins the family. So Robyn is the final wife, and she and Kody marry in 2010, which is 17 years after he married his last wife.
Wow.
And this is part of, the season 1 finale is this wedding. And like I said, 17 years after Christine had joined the family. So besides Meri, who was the first wife, all the marriages between Kody and his wives are technically spiritual unions, at least for a while. At the center of the show is polygamy and the dynamics of the family. When the show debuted on TLC on September 26, 2010, the very next day, where they lived in Lehi, Utah, they actually announced an investigation into Kody Brown and his family for possible charges of bigamy, which was a third-degree felony, which carries a possible penalty of 20 years in prison for Kody and up to 5 years in prison for each wife.
I forget what bigamy is.
Bigamy is typically when 2 or more spouses aren't aware of one another.
Oh.
But this, they're claiming, is bigamy through cohabitation. So since they're all living together, the state of Utah considered it bigamy, which is weird, right? Because I thought it was the other way, but that's what they said. He's only married to Meri, but he's living with these 3 other women, and they considered that to be bigamy at the time. So this is back in 2010.
Okay, got it.
So in response to the investigation, the Browns released a statement, quote, "We are disappointed in the announcement of an investigation, but when we decided to do this show, we knew there would be risk. For the sake of our family, and most importantly, our kids, we felt it was a risk worth taking," end quote. So before we get into the specifics of the family, we'll talk a little about what polygamy is and how this family came to be involved in it.
Oh, good.
Because I really, truly only knew the Big Love version of this. So polygamy is basically one person being married to 2 or more spouses. Polygyny is one man that has multiple wives.
Oh.
Polyandry is one wife and multiple husbands. You don't hear about polyandry a lot, and that's because who wants to be married to multiple men? That sounds like a nightmare.
Depends who you ask, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
Wow, this is like getting real really fast. Okay.
Yeah.
It's educational.
I told you I've been everywhere in this. And so we talked a little about bigamy, and that's something we hear in true crime. Every once in a while, you'll find one of these stories where this guy has gone off and he's married another woman, has more kids, and has to kill somebody to hide this, right? So while some people look at polygamy as a way to take care of a larger family, kind of like a commune situation, others do it for religious reasons. And the Browns are one of the families that do it for religious reasons. So the Browns are technically part of a sect of Fundamental Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, FLDS. And so Joseph Smith was the guy who founded Mormonism back in 1830. And he was deeply affected by the death of his brother a few years later. After he founded Mormonism, he has this vision of his brother. And in this vision, he sees something called sealings, Sealings. These are for faithful Mormon parishioners who are approved by the church. In these sealings that he saw in his vision, it gives a more powerful role to men to help save these people that they love to get into heaven. So by and large, at this time, more men are converting to Mormonism than any other religion. So in the early 1830s, Joseph Smith included polygamy into the practices of the church. Similarly to in the Old Testament, Abraham had multiple wives. So according to Smith, a good and righteous man can help lots of women get into heaven by being sealed into a plural marriage. So if you have a large family, it multiplies a man's glory in the afterlife. And so this doctrine was established in 1843. Wow. which I didn't realize that Joseph Smith was the one that actually brought this into it.
No idea.
Yeah. So the government gets involved, and the U.S. Supreme Court rules in Reynolds versus the United States in 1878 that polygamy was odious, which I had to Google, unpleasant. And they said that second marriages were always void. And they were like, that's just how it's going to be. We're not doing this. You can't do this. Well, the Mormon Church did not back down. They wanted to keep polygamy as part of their practices. And in 1887, something called the Edmunds-Tucker Act was passed in Congress. And this authorized the seizure of LDS church assets and makes polygamy a federal offense. So they basically said, we gave you a warning.
Yeah.
If you're going to keep doing this, now we're taking your stuff, and this is, a federal offense. So in the 1880s, men that were polygamous started being attacked. And so the church feels this pressure to distance themselves from polygamy. So the president of the Mormon Church at the time, Wilford Woodruff, announced in 1890 the church would no longer sanction plural marriages in adherence to the law of the U.S. But there were Mormons that still wanted to do this. So they actually would go off to Mexico and ended up marrying in Mexico. And a lot of polygamous sects were born, S-E-C-T-S, were in Mexico. So by the 1930s, though, there's 7 Mormon polygamous leaders who get together to form this loose confederation to keep polygamy going. So this is not even 100 years ago. And they did that for a while, and then it sort of became an underground thing. It's estimated that there's around 38,000 fundamentalists practicing polygamy in the United States right now. Out of the 7 Mormon polygamous leaders, we get this offshoot of Mormonism, which is the fundamentalist church. And so this is something you'll hear that's different. And they make it very, very clear that it's not the same thing as traditional Mormonism. So now we've arrived at why religious polygamists choose this lifestyle. Even with the threat of imprisonment, they feel like this is going to be a thing that helps them. It seals their family together, and all of them have heaven to look forward to. But what draws the Brown family into it? So Kody Brown was born on January 17th, 1969, and he was born into the LDS faith. His parents were monogamous actually throughout his whole childhood. When he was 14, though, his parents sit down and have this conversation with him about celestial plural marriage, kind of saying, here's what this is, just want you to know. And he said, in hearing this about plural marriage, I knew I was going to do it. Like, they weren't doing it, but he just said, okay, this is my thing at 14. I had a lot of bad decisions at 14, but I guess this was no.
I think like any talk from your parents at age 14, particularly around relationship and sex things, I don't know, just not a great time to make a lifelong decision.
Right. It's a big one to be like, at 14, I decided I was going to get a tattoo of like a rat or something crazy. And luckily, 18-year-old me was like, that's a stupid idea. But 14-year-old me would have made some terrible decisions.
Same.
So when Kody's 19, he moves to Texas. And during this time, he finds out his parents have been excommunicated from the church because his dad has taken a second wife. Okay. So they've gone from just being like, hey, this is what it is, to also, here's your new mom. And so he said he was really open to it. He thought it was great. He loved her like a mom, which is kind of amazing to hear because he never lived with them together, So it's like getting a step parent after you've, grown up. It just seems like you're not going to have that connection.
No, that's odd. I don't know. Maybe he just really was so inclined to be accepting of it that he could extend some affinity for her. I don't know.
Maybe. So this is whenever he's back and he meets this lady named Meri. He meets her at church. And poor Meri. I read the book Becoming Sister Wives, wow. For research for this. And basically everything they say about her is never that flattering in terms of her personality, which makes me so sad. He basically said, didn't notice her. She was there, didn't notice her. But she ends up attending some summer camp with his sister. And then his sister talks a lot about her. And then he meets her and says, oh, you're the Meri my sister really liked. And that's kind of how they start to know one another.
How lovely.
So yeah, trust me, these marriages, you will not even believe how they start because you would be like, I would never let my child. It's good. So Meri grows up in California and she moves to Utah when she's 5 years old. Her mom really wanted to get her dad into polygamy for some reason. I don't know if she was like, too many kids. I just need help.
I do see the upside more for women in that sense.
100%.
How many times?
No, there's a lot.
Yeah. Have you felt like if there was just one more of me or two or three, we could get all this done?
Yeah. I wouldn't be the cooking wife. I wouldn't be the laundry wife. Rebekah, I'm running out of things.
Yeah,
what would I be?
I was just like, wait a minute. That's right. I'd need a role and I'd have to get really good at it and be like intentional about it. So this wouldn't work for me because I'd be like the good for nothing wife.
Yeah. That's the one I'd want. I would say I would love to be your good for nothing wife. Put that on the vision board, please. Good for nothing wife. I actually think I might be that already.
Yeah,
I just don't have anybody to pick up my slack.
So true. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. So eventually her dad decides to get into polygamy at the encouragement of her mom. He takes 5 wives in total, and Meri ends up having 27 siblings. And so she's raised in the LDS faith, but now into this fundamentalist version of it. So Kody meets Meri and ends up joining the fundamentalist version of this because at this point his parents have, but he hasn't. So he joins. They fall in love. That's what they said. And married each other on April 21st, 1990. And they knew going into it, Meri knew going into it, Kody knew going into it, they were going to have more wives. That was just always the plan. And so the couple end up having 1 kid together, and we'll get into that later. And now we meet Janelle. Janelle is probably my favorite wife. And if we're talking Enneagram, she's a 6.
Oh.
And I don't just say that because I'm a 6. She's just logical. She's so logical. She's such a planner. And she's like, I don't know. She doesn't require much in their relationship. I'm not saying that's me, but it's an interesting part with her. So she grows up in the LDS faith. Her dad dies when she's 2. And she has a stepfather that she said was really distant. And so she just knew, I don't want that for my life. I don't want that to be my spouse. So she just knew she wanted a really good husband, really good father. And she meets this guy named Adam. And her grandmother says, hey, Adam, he's from a family of polygamists. And she was like, okay. She didn't know any other polygamists, but she finds out Adam's a polygamist. And so the two get married. And she thought they were going to become polygamist, but 6 months later, he moved out and they divorce. Oh. And the thing was, during all of this, she really loved his family. She did a lot with his family, even in this short amount of time. And she was friends with his sister who was Meri, who was married to Kody.
Wait. I'm so bad at family relationships. So Meri, who is Kody's first wife, is the sister of the guy Janelle was married to.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so they're actually not related. They're not related.
They're not blood, but they
they're
were
familial marriage, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was kind of hidden from people in the first season. You didn't really know that until, Rebekah, you see photos from Meri and Kody's wedding, and Janelle is just standing right next to Kody in the wedding from 3 years before.
Weird.
It gets weirder. Just
of course it does.
I need you to buckle in. It gets weirder. So she's in the middle of this divorce. She sees Kody, they have somewhat of a relationship, just as friends, family. And she kind of notices there's something different about him, but she's going through this divorce and she just kind of packs it away. 3 months after Kody and Meri were married, Kody actually gets a job where Janelle works. So they meet, they talk, and she just keeps feeling really drawn to him. And she knows to become a part of a plural marriage. She knows he believes in it, and she knows Meri believes in it, but kind of the wife tends to bring in a new wife more so than the husband. So it's not like the husband's, I was going to say chasing booty, but I haven't come up with a better phrase. So they're not chasing booty. A wife normally finds a woman folk to be one of the wives.
Okay. Extend the sisterhood.
Extend the sisterhood over chasing booty. So that's what they did. So Janelle's mom hears her saying, I really kind of like this family. I want to be a part of it. I think I'm supposed to be a part of it. And Janelle's mom, who's no longer married to her stepdad, says, "This is crazy. I don't want you to do this. If you're going to go up there, I'm going with you." And she said, okay, so to go visit Kody's family. So she goes up there. Here's the thing. Janelle's mom meets Kody's dad, and they fall in love and they get married.
Oh my God. There are people in the world who actively resist getting married. These people are just it's weird. There's so much marriage happening.
So much marriage. And these people, I just love the idea of these men being the best of the best. There's no one else. We have to marry him. He needs 4 wives. No, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
But Kody's dad, so she goes from being, I don't think polygamy is good, to I'm now your mom and your mother-in-law, and your husband that you're courting is now your stepbrother.
Oh my gosh. This requires a Venn diagram.
I do have some photos I can show you. So I'll post these on social media, but I'm showing Rebekah right now a little bit of the family tree. So here we have Meri and Kody.
Okay.
They are going to have one daughter named Mariah.
Yes.
Now we're up to Janelle and Kody. Janelle is, I think of her as the worker bee. She wants to work. She's just very, very smart, very hardworking, very organized. She is no nonsense. These are her kids. Logan is her oldest. Maddie, Hunter, Garrison, Gabriel, Savannah. In my personal opinion, she has some of the best kids in the whole bunch.
Oh,
they're just good kids.
Okay.
She's a good mom. So Janelle basically said this relationship with her and Kody wasn't this huge love story. It was, hey, I like you. I want to be a part of your family. I think we get along intellectually. Let's do this. So she says they're not in love when they get married. It's very just this works. They go on one date and they get married. But they end up getting married on Meri's birthday, which was such a terrible idea. Isn't it? And I love Janelle. And I was like, that was not a good idea.
No, I would think as a sister wife, you'd respect birthdays independent of anniversaries. That's something you can control.
Let me tell you, the episodes on these that actually have to do with anything is always somebody fighting over a birthday, over Christmas, over hanging ornaments. It's a whole thing. So it's such a weird thing. So she and Kody together have 6 kids. Like I said, 6 of my favorite kids. In the book, it talks a lot about Janelle and Meri's relationship, and it was tense. So the two of them and Kody first lived in a trailer for a while and barely spoke. Kody traveled all the time. He did stuff in sales. And so the two women are just left to do nothing before they have kids. They're just can you imagine?
No, I can't.
How tense it has to be okay, you're with my husband, I'm with your husband, and we're all trying to get pregnant at the same time. So that's the other thing.
Oh God, sorry.
It's a lot. Don't put that on the whiteboard, or don't put that on the vision board.
It's like pregnancy pact meets sister wives. This is getting weird.
Gosh, I know. So next we have Christine. Christine is lovely. I think she is so much fun. She's so bubbly. She has such a great personality, and she's one of those people who was kind of made for TV, I think. So Christine grows up in the fundamentalist church. She has 2 moms, 10 brothers and sisters. She is bubbly and vivacious and just the life of the party, just loud. And I love her so much. She's so fun. Her grandfather was the pastor of the church that they would all eventually meet at and attend. According to the book, I don't know why I put this note in here, but this is one of those Meri comments I was saying. No one noticed Meri at the church until she married Kody. I know. You won't feel bad for Meri for long. Well, I still kind of do, but you'll see.
Oh, is she the alpha wife because she was first?
She's the alpha wife, but alpha wife takes a turn.
Okay, I'll wait.
Oh, young grasshopper. There's so much left to explain. So Christine really was interested in Kody long before he was interested in her.
Have you ever had that moment when you're leaving the house and you wonder, did I lock the door? Or worse yet, you start spiraling and you imagine all the what ifs. I used to feel that way all the time, but it wasn't until a few years ago when I heard about a break-in just a few blocks away that I realized I needed to really step up my home security game. And now I can spiral about the what ifs on things that don't matter, like reality stars, instead of the what ifs of home security. We've had Simply Safe protecting our house for the last few years now, and it's a total game changer. With Simply Safe's Fast Protect monitoring, I know within 5 seconds if something's actually up, and the lifeguards can actually speak to intruders to stop them. That's faster than a reality TV star can throw a drink. One of the things I really love the most is you're not locked into some over-the-top 90-day fiancé level contract drama. Simply Safe is actually affordable as well, less than $1 a day with no hidden fees, so it's easy to love. It's no wonder they've been named Best Home Security Systems by U.S. News and World Report for 5 years running. Whether you want to install it yourself, it really takes less than an hour, or have a professional handle it, Simply Safe is as easy as flipping channels between Chimp Crazy and The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So why wait for the drama to happen? Get Simply Safe and know your home is covered just like I did. Protect your home with 50% off a new Simply Safe system, plus a free indoor security camera when you sign up for Fast Protect monitoring. Just visit simplysafe.com/criminality. That's simplysafe.com/criminality. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear liners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you could pay with your HSA, FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
So they all kind of go to the same church. She just wanted to be a part of this family. And she even talks to Meri. Meri's saying, hey, we're trying to find another wife. They have this wife they kind of like, or this woman they kind of like. It doesn't end up working out, but Christine's on the phone saying, hey, she's basically happy that this new wife doesn't work out for her.
Right.
Even though Christine could do so much better. So anyway, Christine's thrilled. They don't end up working out. And eventually, Kody decides to pursue Christine. He thinks, okay, she's going to be a good person for our family. But he says, originally, he was not physically attracted to her.
Yikes.
He puts this in writing, and he says it on their freaking show that's nationally televised.
Ugh.
Here is, Rebekah, one of the worst stories I've ever heard in my entire life.
No.
I know. This, if you've ever had somebody, if you've ever been rejected.
Never.
I have.
Not once.
Not you. This would be the worst rejection story in the world.
No.
So they go on this trip, Kody, Meri, and Christine, when they're kind of dating, trying to figure things out.
Where's Janelle?
Janelle's working.
Oh,
Janelle is
okay.
always working. She's the most responsible one.
Gotcha.
She does not have time for vacations.
Okay.
He says that he looks at her. They stop at some Quickie Mart, and she brings out a bowl of nachos. She gets a plate of nachos covered in, chili, covered in cheese, and she scarfs them down.
Okay.
And he said this sight was so unattractive that he started second guessing their relationship. He said, I couldn't watch her eat them. She must have been starving because she was eating so quickly. And there was chili sauce and nacho cheese everywhere. He's a monster.
Okay.
And he basically was like, I had to stop seeing her after that.
First of all, there's no other way to eat nachos than quickly and voraciously. So shut it, Kody.
Yeah.
Second of all, it appalls me that he's saying that about her. However, I've probably said similar about my husband.
That's fair. I would do the same
But
thing.
that's different.
I know.
Somehow.
I want to. Well, you didn't put it in writing in a freaking book that apparently somehow made it to the New York Times bestseller book.
Just
Yes.
a podcast.
Yeah. Here's my just a podcast. So I have a nacho story I think you'll enjoy. I too am a nacho enthusiast. And I once was keeping the till for a basketball game at my school. So I was keeping all the money and I had gotten nachos and I was sitting at the desk and, just waiting for people to come in and I would take their money. Well, I'm eating my nachos. I'm very into this. And next thing I know, I turn around and the cash box is gone. I have no idea where
You were
it
so
went.
devoted to the nachos.
I was so into my nachos. I had no clue what happened. And then I finally turned around more and a group of adults, I was a teenager, had taken the till and they said, you were just so into your nachos. We didn't think you'd notice.
I was right.
They were totally right.
They require a lot of attention. They do, nachos.
all your fingers, you got to wipe, you got to lick, all of that. There's a lot going on in them. So they were really good that day too. I mean, what can I say? Cheese in a can?
Bring it.
Please.
So wait, were the adults like testing you? Like, let's see if she notices, and then they told you? That's kind of messed up.
It's totally messed up. It's so messed up. But I also was the person who on like trips and stuff, volleyball trips, they would like bet me how much I could eat. So I would like try to race the guys because we had girls and guys teams. And I would eat triple cheeseburgers, like 3 triple cheeseburgers. I could just out eat anybody.
I'm so impressed.
But it takes dedication and it takes concentration.
Yes, it does.
And if you steal from me, I won't notice.
That's the takeaway. It also takes confidence, Melissa. Good job.
There you go. I had an unnatural amount of confidence that day. So this is just a side note. Whenever I was reminding a friend of mine, Carly, who's a friend of our show, about this nacho cheese thing, she called Kody Queso Kody and the agent of chaos. And I was like, that's totally him.
I like that a lot.
So somehow Kody powered through the devastation of seeing his wife eats nachos like a human being. I say that from experience. And they eventually get married in this tiny ceremony because it's a third marriage. You can't have this giant big party. It's basically more of a dinner party. And he, again, drills in the fact that he is not attracted to her. She becomes a stay-at-home wife, and she loves her role as homemaker. So they're all having kids at this point. Meri, unfortunately, was only able to have one daughter. She had issues with infertility. But Christine was a stay-at-home wife. The stay-at-home mom. She loved doing it. And she was also part of something called Principal Voices. And they were kind of the public face of polygamy, but on a very small scale. So, more in Utah and stuff, you would have heard of Principal Voices. And so while she's a part of this, and they basically do outreach to kind of say, hey, we're not bad. This is okay. Right. We're, fine, but still staying under the radar. So during this time, she's approached by tons of people about being involved in documentaries about polygamy or, TV shows. And she never tells Kody because she thinks like, no, we don't want to do that. Eventually, though, he says, hey, these people are interested. We've had people reach out to our family. And she said, oh, yeah, they contact me all the time. And he was like, okay, well, if they contact you again, let me know. And we need to think about it. So eventually a man by the name of Tim Gibbons reaches out to the Principal Voice and is connected to Christine. They then speak to the family and decide they want to move forward with doing this show, doing this reality show. And all the wives eventually come around to it, but Christine was really worried because she knew this risk. When her dad was 8 years old, his family was totally split apart after his father's arrest for polygamy. So when she grew up, they grew up in secrecy and fear. And so they knew not to, if you weren't your dad's first wife's kids, he couldn't claim you in public, which, can you imagine that? Like, just all of a sudden you're with your kids, but now you can't act like you're with your kids. Yeah. They're somebody else's kids. It's really sad. So later her mom leaves her father, divorces him, and leaves the faith. That's kind of an aside, but it doesn't always work out in these relationships is what I got from that.
I would think.
And Christine and Kody together also have 6 kids, just like Janelle. So during this time, they're in various living situations. As you can imagine, the world's not really made for people living with 3 separate, there's 3 separate couples, really. So in the beginning, Kody, Janelle, and Meri all lived together, which, as I said, was horrific. And eventually, when Christine comes in, she lives in a cottage nearby. Keep in mind, this is so expensive to have so many households going on.
That has been going through my mind. Like, how do they afford this many children and everything?
Right?
But I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, a little. They don't really give too much information, but I do have some. So eventually, Janelle ends up leaving the family at one point because it's just too much. And she leaves for almost a year. Wow. And she was still with Kody, but basically said if they moved further, she wasn't going. Eventually, she wanted her kids to be around their siblings, so she ends up moving. And so the family moves to Utah into this house that's basically a polygamous dream home. It's 3 apartments in Lehi, Utah. So you've got your 2 upstairs and you've got your basement wife.
Aha.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. And Christine ends up being the basement wife, but you don't have separate entrances. So for some reason, this is such a huge sticking point on this show. they know their husband gets around their home, but they have a hard time seeing one wife walk in the front door with that husband. Like, they know they go on dates, they know they make babies, but the idea of seeing them walk into the front door is just too far.
That's too much.
It's way too far. It's disrespectful.
Okay.
I've never quite figured that out. They talk about this being a really good time in their life, depending on who you are. Christine thinks it was horrific. Janelle loved it. Meri, I've never gotten a good read on her. Kody enjoyed it because all of his kids were there. So he could go stay one night with one wife, but he's tucked all the other kids in bed. I can see how that would be great. Yeah. So this goes on for several years, like not 17 years, but at least 7 or 8 years. They did this quite a bit. It was like a huge part of their family. So then let's bring on Robyn. Robyn is the fourth wife. She grows up in Utah in the fundamentalist faith. Her mom was actually her dad's second wife. So she was in a situation where she was with her dad one time and he had to act like he wasn't with their family.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so one of the things they did, and Kody, Meri, Janelle, all of them, they would say they were sisters. So it was like, oh, this is Kody's sister. Meri's the, like, it's kind of gross. I mean, technically, Janelle was a sister.
Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh.
So she never really minded it though. Cause she, like I said, very logical. She was like, well, he is my brother. It's brother from another mother. And so Robyn always wanted a plural family. She thought it was great. So she gets married to a man by the name of David Jessup in 1999. Jessup is a name I know a lot and comes up a lot in the history of the Mormon church. It's the last name you hear a lot.
Yes.
So she has 3 kids with him. They wanted to have a second wife. I'm not sure entirely why that never happened. They don't really say, but they divorced in 2007. She alludes to possible abuse and alcohol issues. So she says that she doesn't want anything to do with dating, with anything, and eventually is introduced to Kody after visiting his church with her cousin. She's not into it. She's not really super excited about it. Meri loves her. Meri is like who finds the wives. She is the number one finder. She's the Ask Jeeves. No, that wouldn't work there. She's like Bumble for
she's the
Bumble for wives.
Yeah, she's the
wife whisperer.
The wife whisperer. I love it.
Wife whisperer. So she ends up saying, hey, I come with this. She uses the word baggage. It's not baggage. It's her kids, but she's had a divorce. And so she says, I come with a lot. But they decide that she should be part of their family. So they end up having the longest engagement. The other engagements were like 3 months and less. Theirs end up being closer to a year because there were the holidays. They were going to get married in December, but then it was holidays. Then it was somebody's birthday, blah, blah, blah. Then the TV show is being recorded. So now the TV show says, hey, we'll pay for your wedding, but you've got to have it on. Yeah. They end up having it recorded for TLC. That's the finale of the first season. So she has 3 kids when she comes into the marriage with Kody, and then the 2 of them have 2 together. So when we meet the Browns, they're courting Robyn. That's how we meet them in this first episode. And I can't tell you how pumped I was to watch this first episode. It was everything because you just never saw it for real. It was just this idea in your head of polygamy. But I keep wanting to call you Robyn. I'm so sorry because that's not at all a compliment. It's just because of the R. And I think you are so wonderful and you are nobody's Robyn. So it's just the R that's messing me up.
Put it on a t-shirt. I am nobody's Robyn.
Yeah, that actually is a great one. So Rebekah, you don't get 15 long seasons by just having a wedding. There's got to be drama, right?
Right.
So altogether, the couples have 18 kids. He has 1 with Meri, 6 with Janelle, 6 with Christine, 5 with Robyn.
Now,
Tons
5 with Robyn
up
biological, like together or in addition
3
to her?
3 of hers and 2 together.
Okay.
Yeah. So as we said, after the show debuted, they found out they could be arrested, right? They find out, they're investigating them. So they decide as a family to move to Vegas, baby, because, where else would you move? Vegas. What are they going to do in Vegas? I'm a polygamist. Who cares?
Exactly.
Nobody cares,
Pales in comparison to what most people are seeing.
Exactly. So they end up renting homes, doing, again, all the moving I've seen. I could move you in like 14 minutes based on all the mistakes these people have made. They end up finding a bunch of homes in a cul-de-sac. Like they build 4 homes. So they're all in this cul-de-sac. It's perfect, right? So the show goes on. We get all these like, will Kody take a 5th wife? And you just pray to God that's never going to happen. So far, it hasn't. The adults all work together on various ventures because you got to make a TV show. So they got to pretend the only check they're getting isn't from TLC.
Uh-huh.
They do things like going to real estate, which I think Janelle actually did because, again, she's the working hard, no nonsense one.
Yeah.
LuLaRoe, Meri and Christine, huge LuLaRoe people. Meri, if you go to her group, you can watch her videos, and all she says immediately is, read the pin post. As soon as you get in there, somebody asks a question, she reads it, read the pin post. And it's one of my favorite things to just yell at my kids sometimes. It's just fun.
But LuLaRoe had a huge downfall.
They have, but not enough. It hasn't come
not
from
dead.
Meri just yet.
Okay.
No. And then they also did my personal favorite, which is my sister wife's closet.
I've heard about this.
Yes, this is the failed jewelry empire section.
Tell me
of our
everything.
thing. Yeah, well, there's not a lot to tell you.
Oh, darn.
You take 4 women, 1 man who have, I would consider no personal style besides wearing t-shirts with like spaghetti strap shirts over them, and say, you make us designs, and not expect every design to just be a heart. Every freaking design was a heart.
So who was this partnership with? Where could you get this stuff? Did it ever come to fruition? Was it ever sold in stores?
In stores. Silly Rebekah. No, it was an online marketplace that did not do well. And the website, it's still there, and there's more stuff coming soon. And I'm signed up for email updates, but so far, no luck.
I wonder if Jen Shaw did their email marketing.
There you go. Sometimes you just want 4 hearts on a necklace for no good reason. I mean,
well,
let's
great
do that.
reason. 4 wives.
Exactly. But come on, do we really? Heart jewelry, I just cannot take it. I feel like if you love me and you give me heart jewelry, you're going to kill me because there's no reason. You know, that's just like an act of violence. I don't want it. So anyway, they should play to their strength though. Like maybe write a book, like what to expect when 3 moms are expecting at one time.
That's a bestseller. Absolutely.
It's a specific genre, but I think somebody would buy it.
There's a market.
There you go. If I bought this one, I'd buy that one. So as time goes on, though, Robyn's kids, since they are from her first marriage, they do not have any insurance. They don't have any legal connection to Kody. So to be able to, this is how it's been sold to us. We don't know how much is true. To be able to get them on his insurance, he needed to be married to Robyn and adopt these kids.
Okay.
Well, the only way to marry Robyn is to divorce Meri. So,
because he can only be married to one at a time.
Yeah.
And he's only got a spiritual union with the other 2.
Yeah.
But they're his kids. So we're talking about,
right.
Yeah, got it.
Right. So they have to get divorced. And so I can imagine that would be very difficult. Like your place has always been the first wife. And now this new hot thing, this new hot thing comes in, and now you've lost your status as legal wife,
right.
And now this new thing, I keep calling Robyn thing, but that just shows how much I love her. She is now going to take your place. Really, I mean, it's that's like now she's the newest one and she's the legal one. So they end up doing this, and it's really, really hard. On Seeking Sister Wives, which, by the way, if you're not watching that, it's on Monday nights. It's so good. Seeking Sister Wives, they're all looking for sister wives, but some are for religious reasons, and some are literally they just want a nanny. The Stodens just want a nanny.
That sounds more honest.
Right?
Is it connected to this show, or is it a spinoff, or entirely separate?
It's separate entirely.
Okay.
But fun fact, one of the couples that were on Seeking Sister Wives last season, her brother is married to Christine's daughter's husband. Okay. Something like that. It's all connected.
It's got to be a very small, niche community, right? I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So you really could marry your cousin very easily. If you could marry your brother, you could marry your cousin.
Seriously.
So even on this Seeking Sister Wives, one of the couples had to get divorced so he could marry somebody from overseas so she could come here on a visa, which is all of it so risky. So anyway, but shortly after this divorce, we get the biggest sister wife scandal. That is that we find out that Meri has been catfished.
Uh-oh.
And I wish I was kidding, but I'm not kidding, Rebekah.
No.
Poor Meri gets catfished. And she doesn't get catfished by just anyone. She gets catfished by a man named Sam. They were talking for 6 months over Twitter. Sam was a businessman in his early 40s, a millionaire apparently.
Of course.
Yeah, and according to Meri, it was a friendship. That's it. The messages will speak otherwise. But ultimately, Sam wasn't Sam at all. Sam was actually a woman named Jackie Overton, and Jackie Overton is a known scammer. She still has a Twitter account that I was on the other day with 100,000 followers talking about her life, but I don't think her life is true. I mean, I feel like once a scammer, always a scammer, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, in this friendship that Meri has made with Sam, Sam has an assistant named Lindsay Jackson. You aren't going to believe this, but Lindsay wasn't a real person either.
What?
I know. That's the real shock, not
Meri.
Janelle and Kody being brother and sister. But the photos of Lindsay are. So Jackie Overton is using these photos of her as Lindsay, the assistant. Apparently Lindsay's involved in their friendship. I don't get why. Meri even goes to Disneyland with Lindsay. I guess Sam couldn't show up, so there's photos of them together. Jackie eventually says that they had a sexual relationship. None of this has been confirmed by Meri. It's all very speculative. Not going to go any further into that. She wrote books, once called like Almost Married, but spelled how Meri spells her name. You had to buy it on PayPal. It was a whole thing.
A for effort.
I did not buy that one. So there's tons of proof that Meri, thinking it was Sam, but maybe Lindsay, were in communication. But Meri claims all the voicemails, all the messages were actually a result of manipulation, and claims that she was being extorted by Sam and she wanted to protect her family. So she would say whatever they wanted to say to her. Meri said at the end of the day, she thought she had a friend, but she was lied to, and it's a friendship and that's it. But the messages say something different. Rebekah, I'm going to be sending you 2 photos.
Okay.
And we'll need real-time reactions. And which one do I want to send you first? Okay, I'm going to send you this one.
No.
Well, that one's fine. It's the next one that'll really get you.
Okay.
So what did I send you a photo of?
It's a peeled banana.
That's not all I sent you a photo of.
Oh, incoming. Hold on. Oh.
Yeah. So I don't think we should post these, but these, if you Google Meri Brown banana.
Not suitable for work.
Not suitable for work, indeed. But her whole thing is, hey, this was just a friendship, but then you've got something like this. And I have one more little thing to send you. It's not that, but it's a voicemail I'd like you to listen to.
Don't ever send a picture of yourself eating banana. I'll block you.
Don't worry. I
Okay.
would block myself. So here's the voicemail.
I'm sorry that you felt like that was a comparison. All I was saying was I had that. I know what that feels like. That's not what I'm looking for with you. You understand that what I want with you is something deeper and stronger and more passionate. It's what we have. We have something more passionate than I've ever felt. You know that.
Wow. She wants something more passionate.
I mean, to be fair, Rebekah, I send you emails or messages all the time saying, can we have a more passionate friendship?
I'm like, I have nothing left to give, Melissa. I should have told you. I should have been more clear up front.
We're just good for nothing wives. That's what we
Perfect
have.
pair.
Yeah.
Well, that's intense. And
It is.
brings up a lot.
It brings up a lot. And to be quite honest, I felt really bad for her because she's gone through this divorce with her husband and things, I don't know, you can see the dynamics changing in the family. And so Kody finds out about this, as does the whole world, and he's not happy. There's never any real resolution. And I really think a lot of that comes from the fact that Meri will never say, I thought I was in a relationship. I thought I was having, I was going to live with this person or whatever. She just says, I was extorted. This was a scam. So it's kind of like you can't really forgive someone if they can't accept it.
They can't face it. I know, but she was in such a unique and weird situation.
Right? Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, still sort of joined with him and his wife, but not legally and kind of set aside to make room for this new person. So there was this opening for something like this to happen.
Oh, for sure. And she only had the one kid. That kid was older. So she's by herself. She's an empty nester.
Yeah.
Her husband at best comes every 4 days to stay at her house.
That's
like that,
sad.
they have the rotation. I think so too. She can be kind of insufferable. She can make herself out to be a victim. But I feel like at the heart of it, like it was a very lonely person who got involved in something and then totally got screwed in the situation. But from that point on, this is like 7 years ago, she told Kody, don't come to my house because she was like, I'm going through some things. And to that day, he doesn't go to stay at her house anymore. He rotates between the 3 wives. They're all still a family, but they're not really a couple anymore. It's weird, Rebekah. It's like, it breaks my heart for her too, because I'm like, you're by yourself.
Is she allowed to see other people? Like, are there conditions around that?
No,
What?
it's polygamy. He's the man that has the 4 wives, and she just has to deal with that. Well, she could leave. So it's not like a thing where he doesn't say she can leave. She can leave, but she is part of this family. Like, for some reason, she is very dedicated to it. I haven't figured it out. But the whole thing, like, that's kind of what they're going through in this season. It's COVID, and then we're dealing with that. But we've been dealing with their marriage for years. I'm still on board for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So during this time, the Browns ended up leaving Las Vegas and moving to Arizona. Why Arizona? No one really knows. It doesn't seem like it was a very smart idea. They had all this cul-de-sac. All of them were together. And now they're really kind of spread out. It's kind of sad they're not around each other anymore. So the family, though, still can't move back to Utah, which at one point was like their goal to move back to Utah. So during this time away that they come out as polygamist, a lot goes on with the laws, which was really the whole point of our show, was to talk about the legal part of it. Yeah. And so that now they have a face of polygamy, though. And so they feel like they're the face of polygamy and they can do some good with it. On July 13th, 2011, the Browns file a complaint in United States District Court for the District of Utah challenging this polygamy law.
Okay.
And they release a statement that basically says there's tens of thousands of families in Utah and other states, and we want to have equal treatment for our family and others. And, this would be the first step, is to decriminalize polygamy. So a little over a year later, on June 1st, 2012, the criminal case against the Browns is dropped, although their civil case is still active. But that same year, a federal judge decriminalized bigamy among consenting adults for a brief time, but a federal appeals court overturns it. So it's still just kind of going through yes and no, yes and no, yes and no. In 2017, the Utah state legislature recriminalized polygamy. And what Utah did was really point to these things that have happened in polygamy. So sure, we see Kody, Meri, Janelle, all of them having a healthy, in quotes, marriage, and their kids are doing well and they're thriving and their kids are happy, but they're connected just by association to Warren Jeffs, right? That's the
dark downside of what could happen. Yeah.
And that's what people thought of first, right?
Sure.
So he had been the president of the FLDS Church, and back in 2011, he was convicted of 2 counts of sexual assault against a child. He was eventually sentenced to life in prison plus 20 years. So he had as many as 70 wives, many of them underage. So these weren't wives. These were girls that were,
awful.
Yeah, just terrible. So those who want polygamy laws in Utah want them for reasons like this. A lot of these people have escaped polygamy in these child bride situations. And so, of course, they don't care about the good side of it. They know what they've seen. They know what they've been through. So you can understand where they're fighting for this. But those that are against polygamy laws, like the Browns, say that when these families are forced to hide in secret, things can't be reported. Things like these crimes can't be reported. Because if you say, if something took place where they should call the police, they're not going to call the police because the police come to their house and they find out that their dad is married to 3 women and now the family is separated. So much can't be reported because they're living in fear. So if you take that off, even the stuff, the Warren Jeffs type stuff shouldn't be happening because people won't be afraid to call the police and say, this is happening down the road from where I live.
Right.
Because now you're not going to be investigated. So it makes sense, I think. Ultimately, though, on March 28th, 2020, Senate Bill 102 was signed into law by Governor Gary Herbert. It says a married person can take additional spouses at the same time, but not be subjected to felonies so long as the spouses come in willingly. So not the Warren Jeffs situation, but the Brown situation. They all came into it being married, knowing about the other spouses. But if you are threatened, frauded, or forced into it, or it involves abuse, it's a second-degree felony and carries a prison term of up to 15 years. If it doesn't have to do with any of that, it's an infraction and can draw a fine of up to $750 in community service, leaving the Browns with the opportunity to flee back to Utah if they so choose.
Okay.
So, as I said earlier, I've done the math. And I have now watched at least 176 hours of Sister Wives, Rebekah. It's probably closer to 200 because some seasons had 2-hour episodes, and I watched.
Do you know what this makes me worry?
What?
I don't know if I've ever said this to you before, but my husband says I know more about NXIVM than any woman not in NXIVM should. I think you might be closer to being a sister wife than any woman who's not a sister wife is.
Listen, if I had anything to bring to the table, I would be all about that life. I just don't think I'm good sister wife material. They're going to be like, next. Who's next? Meri, find somebody else. This one's not bringing anything to the table. So, Rebekah, though, I did think of, in closing of my story, 5 things I could have done with my time instead of investing 176 hours in Sister Wives. The first thing is I could have interned for Sonia Morgan. Those were hours well spent.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's a life experience.
There you go. I could be Pickles too. Electric Boogaloo. I could have ghostwritten a book for Aviva Drescher. Mm-hmm. That was just waiting to be had.
Lucrative.
Yeah. I could have made it about Tom for Luann.
Always. We can do that anyway.
Yeah. I could have eaten gummy bears on Scary Island with Kelly Bensimone.
Oh.
Yeah. And lastly, I could have made robocalls for Jen Shaw.
Oh, that's true. I like that full circle, closing the gap.
I did it.
Wow. So
that's all you have to say.
No, I have so much to say. And I'm really glad you got to the part where you're talking and explaining the federal law and their thinking on it, because by the end of your story, I'm just kind of like, look, it isn't for me. All joking aside, it sounds complicated, and 2 people in a relationship is complicated enough. But, you know, I'm thinking, what's the big deal? If they're not hurting anyone and their children are okay, they're consenting adults. Sounds like this should not be a federal law.
Right.
But then the reminder of the Warren Jeffs story changes that. But don't we just need to redefine forced marriages of young children? Like, that isn't polygamy. That is just sexual abuse. And
right.
So I like that they've landed on this if they come in willingly, but maybe add like an age, like 18 plus.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To avoid this getting muddied up with polygamy, because that's separate.
Right. To be honest, it could have said 18 and up. I didn't look very deeply into it. I just saw that it was, I would imagine it was, because that's what they were trying to avoid.
To prevent, that makes total sense.
Really see both sides where you're saying, this is what I left this. And then the Browns saying people won't report it if they fear that their family's going to be separated. Why would you ever, you wouldn't say anything. So it really, I don't know, it opened my eyes to the reasons why and why not. And I think the way they're doing it now makes a lot of sense to say, as long as you came into it willingly, it's your life. It makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, and it's a subculture I'm really not familiar with. I'm from the Northeast. Like it's never been around me. And I have not been a Sister Wives watcher, though I have watched some since meeting you, because you talk about it so much. I've been so curious, and it is fascinating. There is a hard to look awayness about it.
It's an interesting I don't know. Their stories are so interesting and how they come into it is very interesting to me. And just the one that blows my mind is Janelle, just her and her mom going into it and her mom being so against it and coming into it and being like, no, I'm going to marry this man. What?
Yeah. What happened in that moment? What was so powerful that she got swept up in the idea? That's interesting to me. And, polygamy and the man being in control, it seems like Kody is the patriarch and things do revolve around him. And yet there's also some maybe sense of female empowerment for women in the situation, right? There has to be.
It's come a long way. And they very much, he's like, well, they just make my schedule. And he acts kind of like angry about it. But it's like, no, you know what? These are there. You signed up for this. There's 4 women. Girls rule the world. Who does? Yep. Girls.
Exactly.
So we know the schedules. We know how things work. Not to say that men can't, but it makes sense that they're like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. They work together. But it's an interesting show. It is all about family dynamics and where different people fit in, and kind of it's an interesting look at how people relate to each other, I think, and even in friendships and stuff, because they have to keep their friendships somewhat. They have to be able to work together for their kids to be around each other. For Robyn always says, if Kody's having a good marriage with his other wives, he'll have a good marriage with me. So it's important. It's a very interesting, the whole thing is very interesting to me. I'm fascinated by it. Obviously, 176 hours later. But I do want to say that I know that the Mormon Church now prefers to be called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. In all the research, it says Mormon a lot and stuff. So I do know that, and I tried to say it as much as I could, but it's talking back in years past whenever it did go by Mormonism. So there is a difference, and I know that's what they prefer to be called now.
Good to know. I've loved Salt Lake, the new Housewives franchise, for many reasons, but one of them is that a lot of them, if they aren't presently practicing Mormonism or Church of the Latter-day Saints, right?
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, So a lot of the housewives, if they're not actively practicing LDS, they came from that family or that background or converted. And I find it fascinating. That's part of the reason I like that show, is there is this shared experience and history that a lot of the other shows don't have in terms of a religion and a community.
Right.
And they speak that language together. And I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So
I do too.
This is like a lot of religions has a, smaller faction, this more conservative fundamentalist group that's sister wives.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. Let me tell you, it really did not come together until closer to yesterday or today. I was in full panic just trying to bring it. Hopefully it made sense, but we will put pictures up because it's a lot of people.
The family tree really helped. So that was great. I'm really glad they never went to jail. That's a big family to break up.
It is.
It
is. I know. And they, what would they do if Janelle wasn't working? I just don't know. She's such a hard worker.
She's the glue, I guess.
She is. Oh my gosh, she totally is. So Rebekah, do you want to talk about the things we're watching?
Other than Jen Shah updates? Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Perfect. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I am a little bit late to this show. Shocker. I always feel like I'm saying that. I don't even know what season it's up to, but I just started season 1 of a Netflix show.
Okay.
And the clues I'm going to give you are Mad Men, robbery, Detroit suburb.
Oh, I don't know geography, so I'm already out.
It's Michigan.
Yeah, no, I know that's a state. I don't know.
Okay, so an actress from Mad Men is in this show. That's a little more helpful.
Good girls.
Yes.
Good girls.
Yes. Christina Hendricks.
Yes.
And it's in a Detroit suburb, I've learned. Have you watched?
Yeah, I have. I haven't watched the most recent season, but I've watched several seasons. Yeah,
it's
2 or 3.
super fun.
It is.
It's not perfect.
No.
But I'm enjoying it, and it's what I've needed the last couple of weeks, just something I can have fun with. I like their dynamic. I think the acting is good. Again, sometimes it annoys me, and I feel like it could be even sharper.
Right.
But
they
I like
put it together in a very, they're always getting out of, precarious situations.
It's ridiculous.
So easily, where you're like, you have to suspend belief to get through it.
Absolutely.
But it is like a mindless, interesting, a little bit of action stuff going on, a little Breaking Bad-ish vibe on a female side, but in a much more dark comedy. It's not as dark at all.
Yeah, it's Breaking Bad light for women.
Yeah. There's
that might have been the log line in the pitch meeting.
A lot of caveats on that one. Yeah, and the guy from Scooby-Doo. Why can't I remember his name? Matthew Lillard. I'm like, wow, Matthew, where have you been?
Yes, I know he's got such a recognizable face and voice. I forgot his name, but yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It is like one of those that I just will play several in a row and mostly pay attention, but I can be doing laundry and I'm not going to miss a whole lot.
And if you miss something, you can like keep moving with the plot.
Yeah.
Just fine.
Totally. Okay, so mine is an HBO show.
I love HBO.
Yes, just came out.
Okay.
Ray Romano is one of the stars in it.
Oh.
Kristen Milotti is the other one. She was the mom in How I Met Your Mother, which I didn't watch that, but it was like a big deal. She was the mom. It's a dark comedy, and it's about a husband and wife kind of, where the husband owns like a tech company and a brain chip is involved, which doesn't sound like something I would like, but I'm obsessed with this show.
I love Ray Romano, so I don't know what it is, but I really want to know because it sounds like something I'm going to watch.
Okay, it's called Made for Love, and it's on HBO. Ray Romano is the dad in this. He's kind of weird. He's very weird and quirky. You'll see what I mean. But it's a fun watch, but it's so different in that it's a relationship between a husband and wife. Everything's perfect. They live in like this cube. I don't want to give any more away, but just trust me on this. I don't like futuristic kind of stuff. So it's not way in the future. It could technically happen now, but I don't know. It's fascinating.
I'm so intrigued.
Oh, good. I think they're half an hour episodes.
Sold. You had me at Ray Romano on HBO. It feels like I'm going to love it.
I know. So there's been 3 episodes. 3 more come out on April 8th. And then I think 2 more after that. So yeah, you already get 3 right off the bat.
I enjoy that. I love I feel like I'm on the front end of a show for once.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've been dying to tell you that all week, but I had to save it till today.
I know. We're in like save it for the podcast mode a lot of the time. Well, speaking of the podcast, for the next one, I guess I'll tell a story.
Yes.
And I've got a few clues, but I'll be honest, it's a tough one to veil under clues. I feel like this is very obvious, but just here they are.
I'll play dumb.
Or you can say I know, and you can see if you're right in 2 weeks.
All right.
Okay. Chicago. What is it with me in the Midwest cities?
What is it with me and not knowing geography? So I'm already over it. I have no idea.
Okay. So Chicago, because apparently I love Midwest cities. Airplanes. Chasens. And Chasens is spelled CHASEN''S. And that is a proper noun. That's a place.
Not a clue in the world.
I tried to make it a little tough because there's so many like dead ringers. So yeah, you'll just have to wait.
Oh, I can't wait. This is exciting. Yay.
I hope so. Yeah, I just started, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But it's going to be really different from yours.
Well, I would hope so, because how many sister and brother getting married to each other can we do?
Can there be, really? Yeah. So yeah, you'll just have to wait, but I can't wait to tell you.
Yay. So Rebekah, where can people find you?
Every Wednesday, I have new episodes of Dialogue Podcast coming out, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dialogue Pod.
Awesome. And you can find Moms and Murder every Tuesday on wherever you get your podcasts. I think it's Moms and Murder Pod on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. Man, I really wish I used Facebook more, but let's be honest, I don't.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Well, until next time, is that it?
That's it. I thought I'd let you close it. I just decided to sit in silence.
I know. I'm like, wait, is there a business we didn't think of? Oh, and you're also going to hear a promo for our friend's new podcast called Judgy and Curious. That's by Jamie Rice, and you might know her from Murderish, her original podcast. Now she has a second one with her friend Jamie, and it's super fun. It's reality show recaps.
Yeah, perfect. I can't
wait. Enjoy.
Yeah. Okay, we will be back in 2 weeks, and Rebekah will be done. It'll be exciting. I can't wait. I want to Google things, but I'm not going to.
Don't do it.
And so I'm excited.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, I'm Jamie. You might know me from Murderish, a true crime podcast. Well, I've got a new podcast called Judgy and Juryish, and I'm hosting it with my best friend since junior high.
That's me, Jessie. Every week on Judgy and Juryish, Jamie and I dish on our favorite reality TV shows, with judgy opinions coming in hotter than a Lady Morgan toaster oven.
We'll take you inside the drama, and when reality stars fight, best believe we are engaging.
Put on your She by Sheree joggers, pour a glass of Ramona Pinot Grigio,
Then search for and subscribe to Judgy and Juryish in your favorite podcast app.
and remember, fix your face and stay looking hot.
Because you don't want to end up with a crappy mugshot. Bye!
Thank you for listening to Criminality. If you're enjoying the show, please head over to Apple Podcast or wherever you listen and give the show a rating and review. The reality is it would be a crime to keep your thoughts to yourself.
And come join the fun outside of the podcast and follow us on social media. We are at Criminality Show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Memes are welcome. We'll see you in 2 weeks with a new episode. Until then, you can catch my co-host Melissa on her weekly show, Moms and Murder.
And Rebekah Sebastian on her podcast, Dialogue, a true crime conversation. Don't forget, loving reality
Isn't a crime.